Hey guys, what is up? It is your friendly neighborhood Swagasaurus here with another epic video. And for today's video, guys, I'm going to be starting a new series. I call it Road to the House of the Dragon, spec fights. Basically, the gist of it is that I'm going to be talking about speculative fights that could happen between the Targaryens, their dragons, and any other dragon-based thing in the world of ice and fire. I've wanted to do something like this for a very long time, mainly with stuff that I've liked. I thought about employing it with prehistory, like dinosaurs, Cenozoic animals, Paleozoic animals, but it didn't really work because those are real life animals and they don't just fight for shits and or giggles. Whereas this, it's more of, hey, these are beasts of war being forced to fight in civil war, and I can just kind of throw them into a scenario. As with animals, it's kind of like you have to turn on that thing, and I don't want to portray animals as, especially prehistoric ones, as bloodthirsty killers. I also want to do an anime one, but there's a lot of power scaling community when it comes down to the anime I like Dragon Ball and Naruto, and I just figured it just wouldn't work because I know a lot about that stuff, but I definitely don't know a lot as to most other guys like Swag Hage who does Naruto, Seth the programmer that does Dragon Ball. Those guys know their shit like the back of their hand, so I couldn't even hold the candle to them even if I wanted to. Uh, yeah, I just really wanted to do something like this before, and now I can finally do it with House of the Dragon coming out and just having the time as well as just having a better scale of strength within the Game of Thrones universe and what these animals and their writers are capable of. Um, yeah, so I have been with Game of Thrones for a little while now, probably since season 2 came out. I jumped on the train, watched it probably when I shouldn't have, and I stopped watching around season 4 because I was kind of young back then. All I really cared about was dragons and boobies. And now I'm talking about one of those things for sure. Hopefully it stays that way. And yeah, I really look forward to talking more about it. So as far as my research goes, I have read Fire and Blood, which is perfect for this kind of video because most of these dragons and the riders are going to be from that book. I do not have the book on hand. It's back. It's somewhere else out of my reach. I would like to go out and buy like a cheaper, more affordable one so I can use that as a good primary source. It's going to be kind of weird because it's from the perspective of the Maesters, and it's, yeah. I also had the encyclopedia for the world of Ice and Fire, and I don't have that either. I need to get my hands on that too. I also haven't read the Game of Thrones book series. I probably should, but I promise I will do my research. I will cite. I will do everything as close as I can. And I just want to make this the best that I can and have a bunch of research backing it to prove who I think would win in these spec fights between the Targaryens and their dragons. What else do I have here on this list? Yeah, so with these fights, I'm going to be combining every facet from the Game of Thrones medium, or Song of Ice and Fire mediums. From the books to the shows to even the comics, they ever talk about the dragons and try to compare their strengths. I'm just trying to, basically what I'm trying to do is give you the best version. Ooh, someone's lighting fireworks in my neighborhood. Probably to celebrate this new series, am I right? Look. I'm so stupid. So yeah, I'm just trying to combine every single facet from this medium and try to give us the best version of these characters and their dragons. And yeah, so that's going to bring me to my next point. Rules. What are the rules going to be for these fights? Ooh, sorry about that, folks. A little bit of wonky audio editing right there. My bad. So the rules. Number 1, spoilers. Okay, for House of the Dragon. Any other future Game of Thrones content that's going to be coming out soon, and that is relevant to dragons. I'll probably talk about it on the channel in these terms of these fights. And if you don't want to be spoiled for House of the Dragon or anything else like that, please, I suggest you either. I'll try to avoid spoilers as much as I can, but it's going to be really hard to when I have to talk about certain feats that these characters and their dragons accomplished. So, like I said, if you don't want to be spoiled, I just suggest that you either try to watch the Game of Thrones based videos. There you go. If you've watched, same goes for Game of Thrones. If you haven't finished the series, then I wouldn't suggest watching it if you don't want to be spoiled. If you want to be spoiled, go ahead. I'll love to spoil you. That sounded weird. Anyway, next rule. So this next rule is simply put, I'm not going to be doing fights that already happened within the series. So no Caraxes versus Vagar, no Balerion versus Silverwing, no Vermithor versus Tessarian, and I think, was it Seasmoke? It was Seasmoke, yeah. I'm not going to be doing those. Much as I'd love to, I probably won't. It's be kind of a waste of time because we already know what happens with them in the series. Unless it's super requested, or unless House of the Dragon does something completely different from the books. And let's just say, we know how Caraxes and Vagar went down. Vagar probably would have won that fight if they didn't plunge into the God's Eye. But let's just say, because it's Matt Smith playing Daemon, they have Caraxes win the fight, kill Aemond, and then Vagar somehow dies in that fight, and they both come out alive. Then I might make a video about it, just to be like, alright, here's the end-all decision based on my research, based on everything. Unless, the other unless would have to be if you guys really, 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 really wanted to see me talk about it, which I'd still be a little hesitant to do it then, because it's so finality. There's only so much unfinality within this, as far as who wins fights and who doesn't. So, I mean, if someone dies, and if they lose, they lose. That's it. But yeah, that's that rule. Rule number 3. I do not consider certain feats of feat. Like, if a dragon destroys an army or destroys a platoon of ships that are unarmed, I'm hardly going to count that. Most of any dragon can do that within the world of Ice and Fire. What I'm looking for mainly are dragon versus dragon feats, endurance, stamina feats. A good example of that would be Balerion when he went to Valyria with that one Targaryen princess. He came back, he was all jacked up from fighting something, we don't know what. I don't think it was another dragon. I would like to think it's something else completely different, just to wow us if we ever do get to see what it is. But yeah, just stuff like that. I'm looking for stuff like that. As cool as it is to see dragons level an army, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much skill for a writer to do that. I mean, we saw what Dany did to King's Landing. She literally just went to Dracarys, and then Drogon just kept lighting it up. Which, that's an impressive stamina feat for Drogon. I would love to talk about that in his fights, but it's not a skill feat. It's not a skill of Dany's abilities as a dragon rider and Drogon's true, unique dragon talents, his own unique strength and speed and power and all that stuff. And I really want to be able to convey that and use that for these fights, so I can see who will win. I want a definite answer based on who is stronger, who is smarter, who is quicker. Just grabbing all these different facets of being a Targaryen dragon rider and the power of these dragons on an individual level in some way, shape, or form. Rule number 4. So this will be a fight between dragon riders and their dragon on some way, shape, or form. So I'm not going to be doing Caraxes versus Vagar, and then meanwhile on the ground you've got Daemon and Aemon. Like I said, I'm not going to do that fight, but this is just an example. I'm not going to do that. That I kind of want that to be its own series. Like, I would love to do, all these Game of Thrones fighters just kind of going at it. Maybe a Jon Snow versus an Aegon the Conqueror, Ned Stark versus Jaime one-on-one, something like that. But not for this series. This is going to be between dragon riders and their dragons, too. They have to be like a unit, basically. And even if, maybe I'll even do... There may be this slight occasion I do something like the Cannibal versus Balerion, and since Balerion kind of needs a mount or a rider, he would probably, at his best, he would need a rider. So I might do something like that, but that's still pretty tough to do, because that's like a wild animal versus someone who has a tamed one that's been combat ready and all this other weird factors that I'm not very comfortable scaling in any way, shape, or form. The point of it is, I'm just trying to test the might of the dragons and kind of the riders based on how well they can ride them and lead them into battle, and if that's like them at their best. Okay, I'm not looking to do anything crazy where I've got, like I said before, with Aemond and Daemon, and then Caraxes and Vhagar fighting on the side or something goofy like that. No, 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 no. Because if I try to apply that to something like Aegon and Balerion versus Daenerys and Drogon, that's going to be a bloody stomp. Not because Drogon cannot beat Balerion, but because Dany isn't exactly, how you'd say, prolific in hand-to-hand combat. Not that I doubt her skill. It's just she's more of a leader, and she's more of a type of Targaryen to let her dragons do the heavy lifting rather than picking up a sword and doing it when she might have to. I'm just saying. I just don't want these to be stomps in somebody's favor because someone hops off their dragon and punches somebody else in the face who doesn't know how to fight. Simple as that. So yeah. So this last thing isn't really a rule for the fights or anything. This is more of like logistical stuff I have to go over just in case. First things first, I can't draw at all. So all the art that you see in this video and any moving forward, 99.99% sure that it is not mine. Okay, it will not be mine unless you want to see a bunch of stick figures. It's either going to be from the World of Ice and Fire book. It's going to be from a book of Fire and Blood, screenshots from the series of Game of Thrones, and just random community art and memes here and there and stuff like that. I'll try to credit the people that need credit, for example, like some of the artists from the fan art community for around World of Ice and Fire. I'll be sure to put their credits within the images that I've used on screen. I'm no art thief, I ain't about that, so I'll give people credit that they deserve. But as far as like a Song of Ice and Fire images go, if you've seen them, you've seen them. They're on the web. You can go find them, and I'll be sure to I'll probably credit those too. I just got to figure it out. I just don't. I want to make these videos as quick as I can, and if I can skip the whole logistical of like, hey, this is fan art that I did not create, therefore they should be credited. Whereas Game of Thrones stuff, I'll kind of just not saying that those artists don't deserve credits, but they kind of get it through the books that they're in. So yeah. Another thing is I want to do a much better editing and sound system. I do have access to Adobe Premiere Editing or Premiere Cut or Final Cut or whatever the hell it's called. That way everything just looks better. Right now I'm doing everything through iMovie, and it's just not as good as it could be through audio and editing and stuff, and I want it to be much better. And the final thing is I would love to have an intro for this. If I can commission somebody to make one for me, because I can't make something that extravagant as I want it to be for this series, I would love to have someone. So if there's anyone out there that would hit me up and be like, hey, I can make you a badass intro for this with like clips from all this other stuff, and we can make a badass intro to this, that would be amazing. Just a quick little edit thing to show that there's some decent amount of effort put behind this series. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this series. For all my Game of Thrones fans, even if you're not a Game of Thrones fan, I hope this gets you into it, because this is one of the aspects of Game of Thrones are the dragons and the Targaryens and their history, and it'll be a good build-up for anybody who's into the World of Ice and Fire but hasn't read Fire and Blood and can't wait and sees House of the Dragon, can kind of get the gist of it. Unless you don't want spoilers, then But yeah, I just hope you guys enjoy the series, and I'll be sure to see you guys in the next videos. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I shall see you beautiful people later, and hopefully with our first fight. I'll probably sit back on a little while, but I would like either Balerion and Vhagar, or Caraxes and Jon Snow with Rhaegal. That would be a good starter fight. Maybe I'll think of some other ones, but besides that, that'll have to be all. I'll see you people later. Sorry for rambling, and take care.